Hello, everyone, and welcome to the InnoFact Show 2021 that focuses on technology for the new normal in the hospitality sector. Our session for today is how the technology will help and how the travel industry will move forward in the post-COVID world. Join us and our esteemed panelists as we map out the travel sector recovery in 2021 and beyond, and find out how the next normal will unfold and how travel and tourism is ready for it. I'm Anshul Gupta, lead for hospitality and travel industry at Accenture Technology, ATC India. It is my pleasure to be here today with the co-panelists that I have, and I'm going to introduce them in a minute. We would like to open this session with a special video prepared for us by Ms. Natalia Bayona, Director for Innovation, Education and Investments at the World Tourism Organization of the United Nations. Can we have the video, please?
Hi, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today with you. Today, I have the honor to talk about the challenges that tourism is facing thanks to this pandemic. I have to say that the challenges of the tourism sector are the same before and after the pandemic. The thing is that COVID-19 has accelerated these challenges. I would start by saying that the 5 challenges that the tourism sector has are: first of all, innovation; second of all, education; third of all, investments; fourth of all, added value jobs; and fifth, or last but not least, sustainability. When we are talking about innovation, the main focus of our job is improving the tourism innovation ecosystem. I have to say that thanks to this journey, we need to improve the connection between governments, startups, investors, academia, of course, institutions, and the national governments. Today, I have to say that those connections have been improving the way we are innovating. Nonetheless, we need more pilot projects between startups and corporates. We need a more serious supply chain between providers and corporates that are buyers of those technologies that the startups develop. We need a more interesting venture capital culture. Just some facts and figures. The last year, $22 billion were invested in tourism startups. That's amazing because besides the pandemic, venture capital was increasing. Nonetheless, those entrepreneurs and those startups that received investment, 80% of them were based in the US and China, that are the more mature innovation ecosystem. So my question here is, what is happening with the other countries? What is happening with the tourism innovation ecosystem? We need to improve more in order to bring those capitals to emerging markets as Latin America, Asia Pacific, and African countries. That's why our role through startup competitions, challenges, innovation forums that are the UNWTO Tourism Tech Adventure Forums are part of the key strategies in order to foster a more mature tourism innovation ecosystem. Another fact, I don't know if you know, but from the 100% unicorns that are enterprises that are valued on more than $1 billion, only 5% are from the tourism sector. We need to help the internationalization process of the entrepreneurs. We need to connect them with investors, with corporates, with governments, etc. Second great challenge that we have, education. I don't know, once again, if you know, but this is really important. Tourism is the top employer of women and youth. Nonetheless, 50% of the young, talented minds working in tourism only have secondary skills. If we want to develop a high-level economic sector, we need to improve education. And digital education is here to stay. Thanks to digital education, we can scale up the way people are educated. Our aim this year is to have at least 30,000 new students in our UNWTO Tourism Online Academy. And how can we do this? Of course, developing partnerships with top universities. It doesn't matter if they are focused on managerial or vocational skills, but we need to improve the way people get a certificate in order to have a formal career and a formal professional path in the tourism sector. And of course, if I'm talking about innovation, that is the sector for youth. If I am talking about tourism, that is the sector of youth, of course, innovation and education has to be aligned if we want the third challenge, that is added value jobs. As I already said, 100 million jobs are under risk thanks to this pandemic. But of course, if we don't have people with a professional certificate, if we don't get the tools to help them to access, how we can preserve those jobs. So that's why inside our public policies from national governments, in our commercial strategies from the corporates, from the big hotel chains, from the big airlines, from the SMEs, in every single company that is working in tourism, every single company needs to have an innovative mindset, but of course, a strategy to train their employers to be better and to develop what always the people that work in education says, to be a lifelong learner. It means to study, to learn, to relearn, to unlearn, but we need to help people to gain new skills, skills on technology, skills on big data, skills on how to measure and how to deal with artificial intelligence. But on the other side, to deal with humanities, because this is the more human economic sector. So of course, we need a hybrid model between bringing leaders full of commitment, of communication skills, on political skills, but on the other side, we need hard skills as well. And that combination will help us to create a high-level economic sector. Fourth of all, of course, we need investments, but not any kind of investments, green investments. Why green investments? As you have seen, tourism decreased by 75% during 2020. I have another fact. Foreign direct investment decreased 75% as well. So if we want investors back, of course, we need economic incentives, tax incentives, and everything related to political and legal stability with, of course, a very serious framework. But our aim in the UNWTO is to promote green investments, to promote that investors bring their capital to create sustainable cities, more modern cities, but of course inclusive cities, inclusive destinations, inclusive amusement parks that are full of commitment with the environment, with technology, with the human beings, and of course that thanks to their investments we can create added value jobs focused on the power of tourism. That's why we have been partnering with the International Development Bank, with the IFC, and with other international financial institutions, because we know that together, through a legal framework, through a political stability, and of course, with a multilateral message on what we know that will recover the sector again, we will have a very powerful message, and we can help investors to develop a tourism investment culture thanks to this framework. And last but not least, of course, sustainability. Most of the people think that being sustainable is about working with the environment and for the environment. And to be honest, being sustainable is not only talking about the environment, it's about at least working with communities, working with the most vulnerable people, working for inclusion, using technology for good, and of course, to take care about the environment. So, of course, after this pandemic, I have learned, and I know that you all have learned about how sustainability needs to be part of our lives. So, if we develop a more sustainable framework where innovators bring solutions for a more sustainable development, if we bring green investments, if we create curricula inside the institutions in order to promote sustainability. And last but not least, if we add value through our jobs in order to take care and to give back to the community, thanks to the tourism sector, we are using the sector to become from important to relevant. I know that today you will have a lot of conferences, but I would like to end with this final message, that is, the responsibility of recovering the tourism sector is from all the tourism ecosystem. Is not only the responsibility of the UN, WTO, is not only the responsibility of the governments, it's not only the responsibility of the private sector. We all need to recover the tourism sector. To recover the tourism sector, responsibility is part of our job, and educating people, improving innovation, working on added value jobs, and developing a more modern, sustainable, and innovative tourism will help us to recover this sector again and to lead by example by using resilience and by using this high-level network that is the human network in order to improve the way people live, the way people travel, and the way people are educated. Thank you so much and enjoy the journey.
Thank you so much for sharing the insights with us, Natalia. I know you were supposed to be one of our panelists for today, but to the audience, Natalia is not able to join us live for this session because of last-minute urgent commitments that she has. It was a great message. It included, recovery of travel and tourism. It talked about the various things we have to do beyond just green or beyond just sustainability, including education and many of the other things. I'm sure when we take the panel discussion forward, a lot of those will emerge as much stronger themes as well. Blessy Tones, VP and Head of Digital Marketing and Branding at Discover Hospitality, was also supposed to join us today as a moderator, but due to personal emergency, she can't make it. But we have exciting experts on the panel, the three of us that we have, and I'm going to soon introduce. We are going to take the session forward and talk about how travel industry will move on from a hospitality, tourism, and technology standpoint. I'm delighted to introduce Graham Perry, Managing Director at Best Western Hotel Group for Australasia. He's a seasoned global traveler. He's a seasoned global travel expert in tourism and hospitality as well. He's an executive leader with interest in the ever-evolving travel distribution. Hi, Graham. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Our second panelist is Stephen Rivera. He is the Regional Director, Asia Pacific at TUI Amusement. Stephen has over 30 years experience in events management, hospitality, and tourism. And Stephen, we are so glad to have you here with us.
Thank you for having me as well. Looking forward to it.
It's been almost 2 years into the pandemic, and the world is still grappling with its toll on health and the economy, especially travel tourism that has been hit badly. Tourism, as we know, has been the worst hit in terms of various other sectors that also had the brunt of the pandemic. My first question for this panel is, what optimism do we see for travel on the other side of the pandemic or through the pandemic, or what you see forward? Please take a minute to introduce yourself before answering the question, and let's start with Graham.
Okay, well, let me start. So my name's Graham Perry from BWH Hotel Group in Australasia. Just telling you a bit about the group. It's a global brand which was introduced to the market about 2 years ago following Best Western Hotel and Resorts acquisition of World Hotels. Under the umbrella, there are 4,700 hotels worldwide, catering from, if you like, economy properties all the way to luxury, and also from the leisure and the business side. Underneath the BWH umbrella, there are three brands. The first is World Hotels Collection, which, interestingly, is 50 years old this year. So they've got a big birthday. The second brand division is Best Western Hotel and Resorts. And as you'll appreciate, Best Western sits at its very heart. This year, Best Western is 75 years old. But under the Best Western and Hotel and Resorts umbrella, we also have some really exciting lifestyle brands. We've got Aiden, delighted to welcome Aiden to Australia in this December in Darling Harbour. We also have Sadie and Gallo. And then the third division we have is Surestay Hotel Group, which really focuses on that economy end of the market and is winning major awards in the United States, and we're growing that footprint in Australasia. Turning to your question, which is a really good one, and I think it's great to start the session on optimism, because I think we have to do that. I predict that once the pandemic in Australasia is over, and what I mean by that is really is us racing towards 70% double vaccination rates and 80%. I believe once that happens, the lockdowns will end, the state borders will open, and then ultimately the international borders open as well. When that happens, putting aside any other global events that could happen, I predict a really bumper 5 to 10 years where I think there's going to be exponential growth. And I think that's very exciting. And I think we all need to hang on to that. I think the reason I say I'm confident about that, if I looked back to March, April and May in 2021, when at the time Australia had really controlled, and New Zealand also had really controlled the pandemic, we were really open up. The state borders were open. There was a bubble with New Zealand. We weren't in lockdown at all. And this was just before the Delta virus arrived. During that time, in March, April, May, our hotels across the board were outperforming the performance of 2019. So it means even before the pandemic, that is, that we were outperforming it. So that gives me great confidence. And once the borders open, that pent-up demand is going to grow. The other really good thing is that yield is going to be good as well. And I can expect some very, very good RevPAR and occupancy rates. And the reason I feel that is because Australia, from an inbound perspective, is top of the bucket list. It's considered to have a sparse population. It's considered to be safe, clean and secure. And that is going to be more important than price. It's going to drive traffic. Not only that, but in the last 2 years, Australians, New Zealanders have discovered their own backyard and they've realized what riches we have here. And even though some of those will start to go overseas when the international borders open, I feel really confident that they're going to take multiple other trips in Australia. And the final thing I'll say is that with the bushfires and the pandemic, we forget about the bushfires in Australia. Off the back of that, what has happened is government and investors have suddenly realized the importance and the value of regional areas in Australia. So I predict there's going to be very, very strong investment from government in infrastructure and also from investors in building hotel properties. And if you think about our lifestyle brands, I think that has a great potential. So I'm very optimistic.
Well, look, let me just carry on right after you, Graham, if that's all right, Anshul.
Sure, Stephen.
Likewise, we are feeling very optimistic as well. So hello to everybody, wherever you might be dialing in from, whether it's good morning or good afternoon. My name is Stephen Rivera, and I am the Regional Director of Supply Management for TUI Musement in the Asia Pacific and Indian Ocean region. I know that's a mouthful to say. For those of you that are not familiar with TUI Musement, we are the Tours and Activities division of the TUI Group. Now, you may know the TUI Group as one of the largest travel and tourism companies in the world. And every year, when there isn't a global pandemic taking place, we welcome millions of guests to our hotels, on our cruise ships, and on board our aircrafts. So TUI wants to be engaged in the entire travel journey. So ideally, we would love you to purchase your holiday at one of our TUI travel agencies. We'll fly you there aboard TUI Airways. And when you arrive, you'll stay in a TUI hotel. Once you're in destination, we would love you to participate in an excursion, a tour, or an activity. And that's where TUI Musement comes in. We distribute tours and activities across a variety of distribution channels. So are we feeling optimistic? You bet we are. I'm pleased to say that we've been welcoming guests to TUI destinations since June of this year. Places like Spain, Portugal, Greece, Turkey, as well as destinations in the Indian Ocean, like Mauritius. So we think that if there's one thing the pandemic has taught us, it's that people absolutely love to travel and they absolutely miss it. In fact, right now they're yearning for it. So we are feeling very optimistic based upon the numbers that we're seeing arrive in destination in other parts of the world. And we feel that that's going to bounce back stronger here in the Asia Pacific as well.
Yeah, and great points over there. My thinking very well resonates to the aspect that you were mentioning, and I'll probably add a little bit in terms of what we are observing in the market as well. So Accenture publishes a monthly indicator of travelers' confidence to travel as or called as the Traveler Readiness Index. And this multi-country view, Travel Readiness Index, takes into account the level of volatility based on the health status, economic indicators, travel demand, and mobility status across countries. Good news is that in July, the industry was welcoming really positive signs of recovery. From June to July, the index shot up by 9%. Now, if I compare with 2019 levels, pre-pandemic levels, it was just 26% below on that particular index. It is despite the mixed situation of new outbreaks that were happening and easing restrictions in different parts of the globe. In short, the world is eager to travel, leisure or business or pleasure, just that we have to make it a bit more safer place than it was yesterday. That's what I believe is a great sign for all of us. Now, going a little bit beyond, we talked about the optimism that all of us have, and we want to do great things. The pandemic did not come with a playbook. While some businesses, even big hotels, had to close down temporarily or some permanently, unfortunately, others have managed to pivot and stay afloat, especially in the case of quarantine hotels. Now, Graham and Stephen, how have you utilized this forced hibernation to better your organizations? What improvements or innovations have you made to your organizations to stay relevant in these uncertain times? Tell us about what happened, and maybe we'll start with you, Stephen.
Well, for TUI Musement, we actually took advantage of this forced hibernation to actually restructure our company to become one fully integrated, functionally driven organization. So what do I mean by that? Well, let me step back prior. Prior to the pandemic, TUI was already a digitally focused business, and our vision was to grow the tours and activities sector of the company. So to do this, in 2018, we acquired Musement, a leading European startup online travel agency that focused on the digital distribution of tours. So now TUI Musement became part of TUI Tours and Activities division. And in this division, we had 4 distinct brands: TUI Tours and Activities brand, the Musement brand, and we also had a couple of other leading brands that distributed tours. Intercruises Shoreside and Port Services, which service the cruise industry, all the shore excursions that people can go on when they arrive in a port. And we also had Destination Services, which was our DMC brand that looked after guests for inbound tour operators. So during this shutdown, we actually became TUI Musement, a functionally driven rather than a brand-led organization. And that means during that time, we pulled together all the very best from the different departments. So for example, the various digital teams, we now have them all working together to deliver the best digital product. Then we brought together all the best product development people from across the brands so they could work together to develop the most innovative products to enhance our inventory. And the same goes for our operations and delivery. We brought together all the best from the various brands to share knowledge and to deliver the best experience for our guests. So during this downtime, we actually completely reorganized to become a more functional and efficient organization.
That's a very unique perspective, and I'm sure there are people listening. Who will definitely.
It was interesting because it was kind of like nobody was traveling, nobody was arriving at destination. So it was our opportunity to say, tools down, let's see what we have in front of us, and let's make it what we want it to be. And we'll see how we go once everything opens back up again. I'm eating into Graham's time.
Yeah, look, thank you. I'll probably break the question down into two. One is, what have we done in this period to better our organisation? We had a strategy that we've used, which was pre the pandemic, which was we wanted best BWH to be the place to be. And we wanted that so that our people felt it was the place to be, our hotels, our guests, even our competitors. So, and we drilled down onto that, and we really decided it was about putting our people first. And we've instigated some what we call a pulse survey, which is to keep the finger on the pulse of what our staff feel about the business. We've really leveraged their strengths. What we've done is absolutely break down the silos, so that I think everybody understands the business better and therefore can contribute better. A good example of that is sales and marketing and revenue management. Rather than being two separate initiatives, they're actually part of the same thing. So, and that's all about trying to drive innovation. I think the second thing is we wanted to. There's definitely been a drive to direct business. So what business there has been is going to the brands, to the hotels direct. The reason being that those guests who have to travel, they want to be sure that their hotel's available, their room's available, that it's clean, it's safe, and it's secure. So that direct business we've really been building. We've kind of used it to refine our whole revenue management program. And interesting, what has clearly happened during the period is that revenue management has really come to the fore in our organisation, and it really represents best practice, because revenue management is not only about managing revenue when there's good times and performance is growing. It's also when it's contracting, because you want to get the best occupancy and the best ADR and the best RevPAR you possibly can. We've introduced quick site analytics, which we're using from Amazon, and we've customized that, and that is giving us really important insight to drive innovation, make decisions, whatever. So it's really been, if you like, a bit of a spring cleaning to really focus on people, systems, innovation, etc. Moving to the staying relevant. The one thing that it's really important to be relevant. You've got to be agile, and you've got to be able to adapt. And a good example of that was when in March 2020 the international borders shut down. We literally had to react like that. And we literally turned our business upside down. And the reason I say that is because all of the global and national and regional corporate business literally disappeared. So we had to go looking for new business, which was domestic. And we set ourselves, everything became hyper-local, and we actually set ourselves up as, your local hotel away from home. We literally looked for every piece of sales business for our hotels. Whether that was government business, whether it was quarantine, people needing to isolate, whatever it was. We have a program, it's called our We Care program. It's a Best Western global program. And we introduced We Care Clean. And we put in protocols across our hotels to make sure we did things like take paper out of the rooms, get rid of pillows. We wanted to do it to make it a contactless experience and to make our guests feel safe. So we did that. We had many roles at the time of the pandemic reared its ugly head, which literally became redundant. We had a team of revenue managers, regional service managers who used to travel around Australia, seeing our hotels, make sure they're compliant, customer service. We converted them all into account managers, and they each looked after a handful of our hotels and looked after not only their revenue, their finances, looking after their operations, looking after their mental health. So we really did that. And embedding everything about how to stay relevant was number one, communication, number two, communication, and number three, communication. We became the conduit and the one source of information about COVID for all our staff and all of our hotels. So we literally turned the whole things up down, and it's about being adaptive and agile.
Thank you, Graham. And I know, beyond the business model and the process change and various things that the businesses have thought to bring about it, there has also been a significant improvement in the way technology has been leveraged all across, right? I mean, both of you gave several examples. And if I may have to add a few, whether it's contactless, whether it is IoT led, whether it is, uh, several of the players. Marriott has tried the self-service arrival kiosk. Hilton is trying connecting rooms, confirmed connecting rooms. Accor and Hilton also have been accelerating on the digital room key, and the list is endless actually. The couple that really stand out in the recent times. So to the home logged business travelers who have not been having the pleasure of traveling international in business class or first class, Emirates launched the VR flight experience you can enjoy from your home. Very recently, they launched that to bring back the nostalgia. Qantas, players have all the assets, right? So Qantas launched the flight to nowhere. You just, fly around over Sydney or wherever, and you just come back to your original place. You have a 2-hour flight. You enjoy that kind of a thing. The one which is my favorite is in Switzerland, one of the Radisson resorts. They actually implemented, and many players are implementing similar things, but they implemented a zero queue system. So if you have to go to the spa, you book your appointment, you go to the spa. If you want to go to a ski lift, there are like whatever 16 ski lifts or something. If you have to go to that, you take an appointment, you go there, so there's no rush. It reduces crowding and ensures safety. It increases your throughput. People feel safer, and in the peak winter season, you get all the business that you want. With that, maybe I'll shift a little bit to the experience of the travelers and the expectations which are evolving. So how has it changed in the last year? We all know, I mean, it's been through multiple directions, but what it means for the industry in the long run. And this question is for all of us to look at. And how do we think technology is going to shape the future of travel industry through recovery, revival, recovery, as well as the industry growing from strength to strength in the times to come. Let me start with Graham. What are your thoughts?
Look, technology and embracing technology has always been part of the DNA of the travel, tourism, hotel, airline industry. Ever since I started my career, it always will be. I guess the airlines really head the way because their industry is based on technology. You need technology to fly people from A to B. But another good example is the way that we now have ticketless travel. You can use your mobile, you can make a booking on your mobile, a flight. You can check in from home. You can even board a plane and choose your seat. So the airlines really lead the way in this. The hotels also embrace technology, but I think there's a great opportunity after the pandemic for the hotels to, if you like, catch up and really embrace it the same way. A good example is keyless entry. So you can use mobile now to literally bypass reception. And if you've got a hotel room which has got electronic locks and Bluetooth, you can open the door with your mobile phone. And if you take that further, you can also use the mobile to check in from home as you're traveling to the hotel. You can get an upgrade or a message of greeting from the hotel. If you want to, you can open the door. You can order room service. You can order engineering, change a light bulb, for example, and you can even check out. So I think there'll be greater checkup. And I think this whole issue of the pandemic around health and safety is going to fast track that because there is a need for a contactless experience. But then you've got other innovations that have come along over the last couple of years. QR codes. QR codes have been here for many, many years, but they've really been embraced, during the pandemic. So imagine moving forward, I believe that those QR codes, again, are going to be continued to use. So you can actually see compendiums in the hotel room. You can use it for menus. You can use all that. I also think in terms of going back to the core question, how do you think technology will shape the future? I also think that technology over the next 10 years will bring the travel, tourism and hospitality industry together. It's very fragmented at the moment and the products are fragmented. There is a brilliant opportunity to bring that together. And look, I think what Stephen's saying today is a really good illustration of how your company's doing that. But I think the industry can do that. But at the end of the day, whilst technology is important, what lays at the very heart of a hotel experience is customer service. And the industry never will and mustn't walk away from that. So technology just needs to always say, how can we enhance that customer experience? But giving that excellent customer service always embedded into the experience.
I mean, I couldn't agree with Graham. Yeah, as I said, I couldn't agree with Graham more. I mean, for the tours and activities sector, we recognize that technology currently lags behind the rest of the travel industry. So we know the GDS has been around for decades. Similarly, the ability to book accommodation, whether direct or via a digital platform, has been possible for years and years. But it isn't until recently that we've seen the tours and activities sector finally move in this same direction. So although the OTA space has quickly grown over the past decade, digital sales of tours and activities only account for approximately 28% of all sales. So this sector is absolutely ripe for massive expansion, and the only way forward, and we recognize that the way forward is digital. So we believe that tours and activities are actually becoming one of the most important elements when someone decides to holiday. Guests are no longer waiting until they arrive in their destination to decide what they want to do. The types of activities they could participate in is what's actually driving the decision to visit a particular place. This is always held true for like ski holidays or snorkeling or scuba holidays, but we're now seeing that different types of tours and activities available in certain destinations are what's impacting the decision-making process. Things like walking or hiking experiences, cooking tours, different sporting events, historic and cultural activities. It's the activities like these that are now driving the decisions. So most importantly, it's the utilization of the technology to make it convenient to actually book those experiences in advance to arriving in destinations, we think will be key. But you can't do it without, we never want to lose that personal touch, kind of what Graham is talking about.
Absolutely, Stephen. And if I may just give you a research finding that we had. So there's a research that Accenture conducted called Future Systems in late 2019, and no one knew pandemic coming, right? So we did this research with 8,000 plus CXO, 8,000 plus companies, and mostly CXOs who responded to this survey across industries, across markets, across geographies. And what we found was the companies that were in the top bracket of adopting new technologies versus the companies in the bottom bracket of not adopting technology for various functions as much. The ones that were adopting were growing 2 times faster than the laggards in terms of tech adoption and various other aspects. And how do we measure they are successful and all that? 2 times in terms of revenue growth. And if we also looked at the CSAT improvements, the way the employees are happy, the way you are getting your net promoter score from your clients and so on and so forth, various aspects, right? Now, when we did a revised version of that late in 2020, what we found was the gap between the leaders of technology adopters and the laggards actually expanded from 2x to 5 times. So you can imagine there were people who actually used the pandemic to really catapult, to really leapfrog forward in their business using technology as an enabler. It's no longer, it used to be as in a support function. It is a driver of business today, rightly you added.
Well, that's kind of what we're banking on, because, you know, with the acquisition of Musement, we knew we needed to grow our digital space. And so we're hoping that to be part of that upper echelon that you're talking about.
Yes. And I think many of the players are calling the times to come as the golden age of travel in the post-COVID era. And maybe we can look at some key trends that you are seeing, that, trends that you are leveraging after the lockdown as the markets open up. And I see few questions around it as, you know, domestic travel is picking up, as international borders are opening up. What would be mission critical for travel brands to adapt to the evolving customer or traveler landscape? Maybe Stephen, you want to go ahead first?
I mean, for me, for TUI Musement, we think it is the one complete experience, delivering and working on the entire travel journey. So as I mentioned before, in the short time that we've been operational in other parts of the world, we've learned that lockdowns have absolutely intensified everyone's desire for a great experience. So we know that if guests have an amazing and a memorable experience while on holiday, our guest satisfaction scores are through the roof. And this translates into an increased customer loyalty. So for us, we think by delivering a complete and convenient travel journey where guests can book all of the elements of their holiday and monitor their journey in real time will be what customers are looking for going forward. And I do have to say that we're actually doing this now. So we've recently launched the TUI Digital Assistant, or our TUI app. And on the app, this allows our guests to book their flights, their hotels, their experiences all in one place. And it also provides live information about their airport check-in desks, their boarding gates, their transfer locations. And it also has a chat function so they can actually speak to the hotel rep in the destination in which they're traveling. So we want to provide that technology, but we don't want to lose that personal touch. So we still have reps in destination to answer any questions, but we know that the early adopters of technology will just dive on top of this. The ones that are maybe a little bit slower, they're going to want to put their foot into the waters, but they still want to know that there's some reps in destination that can maybe answer some of their questions. So it's a little bit of both worlds, but it's capitalizing on the technology that can deliver this complete experience. That's what we think the way going forward.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind. I agree with you. I want to go back to what I said earlier, which I think is, for me, is a very important point. Is to this point, the various industries that make up the travel, tourism, hospitality industry have tended to work on their own in isolation. And hotels is a classic example of that. And hotels often, develop their own technology, and they do it in competition with each other.
Mm.
Let me give you an example. So I talked about the keyless entry using mobile. So at the mobile, you use that mobile to open your door, and everything I talked about was about the hotel experience. But what that mobile can also do is actually become a digital concierge, whereby you can actually see what is going on around the region. And you can see restaurants and bars and theatre and tourism attractions, whatever. There's artificial intelligence capability out there already that can actually personalize it. And what I think will happen in the future is that we'll be able to personalize that experience. So they say, Stephen, you're coming to our hotel. We know who you are. We know what you like. We'll serve up this information for you to be able to book it. So I think your company is a very interesting example of what I think is going to happen across the industries.
Mm.
You then take it one step further and you think the BWH has actually got 45 million loyal guests. Across all the hotels, we've got hundreds of millions. So can you imagine taking that technology and actually linking that together? At the moment, what we will do is allow our loyal members to book a hotel. And why can't we do what you said, Stephen? Book a hotel, book a flight, book a car, book a tour, book a region, all personalized because we know who our loyal members are.
Exactly.
That's where the future going.
And also, the other thing is those same loyal customers of yours, if they're not traveling interstate to a destination, we'll tap into them when they're not traveling. Hey, we know you're staying home this weekend. You should go to the Hunter region. You should take place in this activity in your own hometown. But once you capitalize on that data, the world is endless, I think.
What we know when we know you fly international, we know what you're doing. By the way, you only do that every once or twice every 2 years, but we know you take lots of trips domestically. We know who you are, you like wine, you like theatre, put it together. Technology can do all of that.
Mm.
Things we're going to do is lifestyle brands are becoming very, very popular. That's where you take a hotel, and the lifestyle hotel wants to immerse itself in the community so that it gives its guests a flavour of the community, but it also wants the community to feel that they want to have the experience of the hotel. So lifestyle brands are going to develop. And I've talked about regional. So I've also now talked about loyalty. So they're the kind of things I think are mission critical for the travel. Sure.
Yeah. So no, very, very well said. And the way I look at it, technology is really an enabler to anything that needs to be done from a business model change, from a process change, and so on and so forth. The quick one that I feel technology can drive even further is going to be around two things: agility and sustainability. And whatever you said was also many things that we are trying as we are learning the new model, as things are evolving, because things are not going to remain constant. The only constant is going to be the change in this particular case, as we are all seeing. So the agility, as much we can have in our business models, is going to be a key success criteria for all of us in the businesses. That is a truth that everyone has realized, and it is going to here to stay. I'm not going to talk about specifically sustainability. I know Natalia had mentioned a lot about sustainability and the need for it, but I will quote Paul Jacobson, the last Delta CFO, in March 2020, right at the onset of the pandemic. This is what he said. He said, Delta Airlines is expected to come out as a much smaller, more modern, and more nimble company. I really liked his early foresight. If you see, he said smaller because many of the companies are now getting smaller in order to be more agile. It has to be more modern, the new technologies that we are adapting, and more nimble. And that's the beauty of that particular message that I like. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen next. And someone actually posted a question in the chat window saying that whatever happened in UK, someone not allowed despite having the right certifications. Then if some of you would have heard Anthony Capuano, Marriott CEO, speak on Script Forum yesterday, he did say that he was visiting his owners in Europe, and the frustration was a handwritten CDC health card is allowed for someone to enter the US, enter Europe, but a digital Europe health card, which is the green pass, is not allowed in the US. And some changes happened very recently, right? So definitely things will evolve very fast, and our systems have to be configurable to adopt to those changes very fast. And that's what I mean by business agility. Whether it is, an ERP system that brings the different teams together, it is a collaboration technology that helps the team work together, or IoT devices which gives us the signals from the various aspects of business real time, AI, machine learning that can help us make those decisions or autonomously make those decisions for us, right? Technology is really changing the game and is going to put the businesses in the right stead to make the right decisions in the real time. I think that's agility and sustainability are the two, in my opinion, are going to be very important. And maybe with that, we actually move to the last question before we maybe pick up another few from the audience. It is the business planning season, so to say, and it will really help if we could give our colleagues on the call some actionable takeaways. We talked about various things that are happening, that have been happening, that will happen. But what are the takeaways for them? What are your recommendations to peers as they craft their own business strategies for the next few years to come? And Graham, I will start with you.
Yeah, just doing it in bullet point. I think the first thing is, and absolutely critical, is look after your people. And I think listen to your people, because think of their out of the box ideas, because they know your business better than you do. And as a result, let them come up with some really innovative ideas, because they can drive real value for you. So people, stay relevant. I wrote this down before your last comment: be agile and be nimble. We've just learned that we've got to be really reactive to the changing situations. It's actually a motto I've always used throughout my career, which is take an outside looking in customer perspective of your business. And I think that's about being, the value of the customer. If we do not understand our customers and we do not respond to them, then we're history. So do that. And I think if we do those things and innovate, I think we can not only survive but thrive as a business and as an industry.
Thank you, Graham. Stephen, your thoughts, please.
Well, I mean, from our perspective, I think my advice would be very simple. Stay focused on what you do best. Don't try and reinvent the wheel, but find out what you do best and then actually do your best with it. utilize the technology to make life more convenient for your guests without losing the personal touch, and also build customer loyalty by focusing on the complete experience. That's kind of the tact that we're taking. So that would be kind of my recommendations going forward.
Great, thank you, Stephen. And I'm kind of repeating some of the keywords that I heard. This is the advice that you had. So relevance, personal touch, loyalty, end-to-end experience. You know, it really is the name of the game today.
Well, it's not rocket science, is it? I mean,
Yeah.
it's really kind of focusing on, you know, the customer, the guest, but just trying to kind of hone in on how to deliver best for them, whether it's utilizing technology that Graham says, the keyless entries and some of these other things, or developing a whole experience where they can book flights and hotels and amazing experiences, fun things to do while they're there. I mean, you know, we're not in the rocket science game. We're in delivering amazing, wonderful experiences for guests.
Stephen, in a nutshell, what you do as a business, we need to do as an industry. We need to use technology all together, and for all the components to come together. So it's not only for the business planning for the companies, it's for the industry, it's for the tourist boards. Because if we do that, it's a complete game changer.
Yeah, I agree.
And if I may bring an analogy from the world of aviation, companies like, or not companies, but groups like One World, Star Alliance, right? We don't have one in the world of hospitality. We've missed that quite a bit. I know there have been initiatives. I remember there is a roomkey.com initiative that came up, and a few others that have happened in the past. But we need more. I mean, something as big as a One World or Star Alliance or Sky Team, whatever have you. My word of advice to the colleagues and the industry, friends that we have here on the call, I term it as creative pragmatism. And this is something that we as Accenture are also referring to. We know everyone will come to you and say, okay, this technology is going to solve world hunger. But it's not the case, right? Although it is not rocket science. But again, it is not that you're going to go out and find a problem for the technology or the solution that you have. It's going to be the other way. You have to really start with what is needed out in the market. You have to be bold with your ideas, but be practical with implementation. Try different things, do things differently. And it's not going to be easy. But the truth is, the industry players have the assets to leverage. I talked about the flight to nowhere from Qantas. They had all the assets, nothing else they needed. Emirates virtual reality experience, they did not need any other asset or buy anything heavy, right? They just needed a technology solution to bring it alive. The rooms are there, the lobbies are there, the banquets are there, the staff, chefs, concierge, restaurants, laundry services vehicle, Accor local, right? They leverage the laundry services to be provided to the local staff. Marriott started Marriott on Wheels, the food delivery to the local community. And I'm sure there are going to be many other things which are not done yet. Apply creative pragmatism, get creative, get going. We are here to help. I mean, if anyone comes to any one of us, I'm sure we get those queries from the people who are starting, or people who need a bit of advice. We always talk to each other in these conferences and beyond. We are here to help each other, and we need that group to come together. Graham, you said it perfectly. What Stephen's company is doing, we need one end-to-end for the industry overall, right?
Here.
Any closing thoughts, Graham, Stephen? I know there were a few questions which probably we picked up as we went. I will give ourselves a minute to see if there are additional questions. I'll go through them. But any additional comments, Graham, Stephen, for the audience?
The only thing I would say is, if you don't have time to answer those questions, if they're fed to me and Stephen, we're more than happy to answer them offline. So happy to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just think in a nutshell, I think what the theme of this session's been about is, it's all very well, it's all working individually on our businesses, but we need to get the best brains together to do it for the industry. And all the tools are there, the technology's there, the pedigree's there, the brands are there. And I think if we do that, there could be a quantum shift in the performance and growth of the whole industry.
Yeah, I will pick Sorry, Stephen, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, hey, most importantly, everybody just needs to get vaccinated so we can get going again. I mean, that's if there's a key takeaway, go out and get yourself vaccinated because we want to start traveling again.
Absolutely. And there's a question that came up interestingly for you, Stephen. The question is, how do you see the pricing process for hotels change with digitization? Many resort destinations still need to contract rates 18 months out to be listed in annual brochures. And maybe, Stephen, if you can touch upon, if you have a view there, and then Graham, I'll come to you for this particular question. It's more about the long-sighted pricing and what could we do as things are evolving and markets are opening. We don't know what we don't know as of now. So what's the advice here?
Well, I mean, and I'll be completely honest. I'd hate to kind of give advice that is really not my area of expertise. I mean, I could tell you about amazing skydiving adventures and scuba diving and harbor cruises. I mean, we are the tours and activities sector of the TUI group, but I certainly don't profess to know a lot about our hotel business. So I'd hate to provide some advice. It might be something that Graham can touch on a little bit more.
Sure.
I think it comes back to this whole agility issue. Somebody the other day, was talking about, could we see your 6-month or your year marketing plan? And I went, in this environment, you can't set those parameters. You've just got to be nimble. You've got to have analytics and identify, what the segment is saying and the customer is doing, and then serve it up. And I think it's the same thing with pricing. It's got to become digital. It's got to be live. It's got to be personalized to the individual. So what we've got to do as an industry is try to get rid of the rigidity of, seasonal annual pricing, seasonal annual sales and marketing plans, and we've got to respond quickly. And technology can allow us to do that.
Mm.
Yeah, certainly. And with that, we wrap up our session for today. Graham and Stephen, thanks again so much for the great discussion we had today. If we had 2 more hours, we would have continued on a lot more topics, I'm sure. And thanks to the audience for tuning and being part of today's insightful discussion. Bye-bye, everyone. Please stay safe.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. See you.